Let's start this lecture by discussing technical vulnerability management. It is referring to the security practice specifically designed to proactively mitigate or prevent the exploitation of technical vulnerabilities that exist in a system or an organization. The process involves the identification, classification, remediation, or mitigation of various vulnerabilities in the system. It is an integral part of cybersecurity, and it is practiced together with risk management as well as other security practices. This figure here on this slide shows 5 key steps involved in vulnerability management. We'll discuss these 5 steps in detail in later slides. Effective technical vulnerability management starts with planning. There are 4 key aspects of the planning process. The first one is risk and process integration. Technical vulnerability review is an operational aspect of the overall information security risk management strategy. A vulnerability analysis must consider the relative risk impacts, including those related to potential operational disruption. In addition, these risks must have a clear reporting path that allows for appropriate management awareness of risk factors and exposure. The second aspect is the integration with asset inventory. As discussed in Chapter 3, asset identification is an integral part of risk assessment. By integrating the asset inventory with the vulnerability management system, an organization can prioritize high-risk systems where the impact of technical vulnerability can be the greatest. The third aspect is the establishment of clear authority to review vulnerabilities. Probing a network for vulnerabilities can disrupt systems and expose private data. Therefore, an organization needs to have a policy in place and buy-in from top management before performing vulnerability assessments. The organization's acceptable use policy must have users and system managers consent to vulnerability scanning as a condition of connecting to the network. And the final aspect is system and application lifecycle integration. The review of vulnerabilities must be integrated in system release and software development planning. This enables organizations to identify potential weaknesses early at lower risks. It also allows organizations to manage costs of finding the issues prior to the identified release dates. And the second step to achieve effective technical vulnerability management is discover. The discover step involves monitoring sources of information about known vulnerabilities to hardware, software, and network equipment. The following list here on this slide shows the several key sources of information about known vulnerabilities. In addition to monitoring vulnerability reporting services, organizations need to regularly scan software, systems, and networks for vulnerabilities, and they need to proactively address those that are found. The Center for Internet Security recommends the following scanning regimen, and they are listed here on this slide. There are 2 challenges involved in scanning that an enterprise needs to address. First, scanning can cause disruptions. The scanning process can impact performance. This is especially true with legacy systems, which can have problems even with simple network port scans. Second, scanning can generate huge amounts of data and numerous false positives. Technical vulnerability management practices produce very large datasets. Reviewing all these vulnerabilities is infeasible. Accordingly, before initiating a large number of scans, organizations need to develop a vulnerability prioritization plan. When a vulnerability scan is completed, the organization should log the results so that the personnel can verify the activity of the vulnerability scanning tools. Discovered vulnerabilities should be ranked based on the skills required to exploit the vulnerability and the availability of the exploit to the potential attackers. The ranks also reflect the privilege gained upon successful exploitation. Furthermore, the risk and impact of the vulnerability should be considered if exploitation is successful. The reporting process of vulnerabilities include keeping track of the number and risk level of vulnerabilities discovered over time. It also includes the effectiveness of remediation effort in terms of removing vulnerabilities. It is necessary for organizations to deploy automated patch mechanism and software update tools for operating systems, software, and applications on all systems to ensure that such tools are available and safe. Organizations should also apply patches to all systems, even the systems that are not accessible from the internet. The National Institute of Standard and Technology Special Publication Guide to Enterprise Patch Management Technologies provides a very detailed list of recommendations for patch management. There are a number of issues to consider related to performing patch management. One is the relationship among timing, prioritization, and testing. Ideally, every discovered vulnerability should be patched as soon as discovered. However, because resources are limited, organizations need to prioritize patching. Further, there is a risk installing a patch throughout an enterprise without testing it. Accordingly, the resources involved in testing need to be taken into account. An organization also needs to consider the impact of a patch on operational systems, such as rebooting and changing configurations. An organization also should take special care if it uses multiple automated means of patching, such as self-patching software, third-party services, and network-based capabilities. And the second category provided in the list of recommendations is patch management techniques, which typically consists of 3 types. Agent-based scanning requires an agent running on each host to be patched with one or more servers. The servers manage the patching process and coordinate with the agents. On the other hand, agentless scanning uses one or more servers that perform network scanning for each host to be patched and determine what patches that host needs. Finally, passive network monitoring checks the local network traffic to identify applications that need to be patched. Common features of patch management capabilities include identifying which patches are needed, bundling and sequencing the patches for distribution, allowing administrators to select which patches may or may not be deployed, and installing patches and verifying installation. The last category provided in the list of recommendations is the patch management metrics. As with other aspects of security, management need metrics to evaluate the use of patch management. Next, we're going to focus on security event logging. In the information security field, a distinction is commonly made between events and incidents. Security event refers to the occurrence considered by an organization to have potential security implications to the system or its environment. Security events identify suspicious or anonymous activities and sometimes provide indications that the incidents are occurring. On the other hand, security incident refers to the occurrence that actually or potentially jeopardizes the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information system or the information that the system processes, stores, or transmits. It also indicates an occurrence that constitutes a violation or imminent threat of violation of security policies, security procedures, or acceptable use policy. As shown in the figure on this slide, the term security event includes both events and incidents. Indicator of compromise refers to specific techniques used in the course of an attack, which may appear as anomalous behavior. According to the National Institute of Standard and Technology Special Publication, indicator of compromise is defined as forensic artifacts from intrusions. The artifacts are identified in information systems. They provide organizations with valuable information on objects or information systems that were compromised. There are 3 main objectives of security event logging. These objectives include, first, to help identify threats that may lead to an information security incident. Second, to maintain the integrity of important security-related information. And third, to support forensic investigations. Effective logging enables an organization to review events, interactions, and changes that are relevant to security. With a record of events such as anomalies, unauthorized access attempts, and excessive resource use, an organization can perform an analysis to determine the cause. A wide variety of sources of security events can be logged. For example, servers and workstation operating system logs, application logs, security tool logs, outbound proxy logs, and end-user application logs. The abundance of log sources presents a considerable change to the enterprise security management. It is necessary for an organization to create a central repository to store the logs in a standardized format. This may require conversion softwares and consolidation software to keep the amount of log information manageable. In determining what types of events to log, an organization must take into consideration a number of factors, including relevant compliance obligations, institutional privacy policies, data storage costs, access control needs, and the ability to monitor and search large datasets in an appropriate time frame. Some examples of security-related event logs are successful user log-on and log-off information for operating system logs, and traffics that are allowed and blocked by the firewall for operating system logs. Logs can contain sensitive information such as users' passwords and content of emails. As a result, it is essential for an organization to protect log data in terms of confidentiality, data integrity, availability, and authenticated usage. The National Institute of Standards and Technology Special Publication Guide to Computer Security Log Management provides a list of recommended questions that an organization needs to address in log management policy. Security event management is the process of identifying, gathering, monitoring, analyzing, and reporting security-related events. The objective is to extract events that qualify as incidents from a large volume of security events. Security event management takes data input from all devices, nodes, and other similar applications such as log management software. Then, as shown in the figure on the slide, the collected event data is analyzed to trace out threat, vulnerability, or risk. There are three main functions in security event management. The first one is the collection of data in the form of event logs. The second function is storing logs. As event data are gathered, they're generally stored in logs local to the devices. A number of steps need to be taken at this point. One of them is normalization. For effective management, the log data needs to be in a common format to enable additional processing. Another one is filtering. It includes assigning priorities to various types of events in the order of importance relative to each other. The last one is aggregation. It is about aggregating events into a more manageable amount of data. The objective of the third function is to analyze the event data and generate alerts of security incidents. The analysis includes pattern matching, scan detection, threshold detection, and event correction. Security event management system interacts virtually with all the other systems in the IT environment. Therefore, the deployment of security event management system is a large and complex project and needs to be planned and implemented carefully. In the blog post Preparing for Security Event Management, Nick Hutton provides a list of best practices for the security event management with respect to plan, access, simplify, and deploy.